another episode of Rift News, the show you continuously return to see if we have some new information on the next champion. Well, we don't. But hey, this video was recorded on Tuesday, which as you learned from the last episode is lore day. This means that I will have to record this video again later, just to check if Riot released some new lore. And if they didn't release anything, ignore what I just said, this part will not make sense at all. Hello, it is me from the future. Even though it was Tuesday, we did not get new lore, but we did get something more interesting. Riot Games got a new logo. That is right, the old logo is gone forever. I kind of feel like the old one was more iconic, but that's the way it usually goes with these changes. It looks weird at the start, but we will get used to it really quickly. I wonder if they will make a new Riot intro as well, because they still use the old version for that. Ben Forbes actually revealed something interesting that went with the old logo. When Riot was talking to potential partners, they developed their own motto. Our brand is urban, our logo is graffiti-like, and our streets are the internets. You have to remember, Riot is now a 10-year-old company. That motto might have worked years ago, but I do understand why they changed it. So now, let's continue with the video. Anyway, this time we don't have a massive amount of information to cover, but we have important things to talk about, especially if you are interested in things that will soon go away. So, let's start with what's happening on live servers. First of all, if you log into the client right now, you will find your shop open again. If you are interested in what I got, nothing unusual really. Even though the Cats vs Dogs event ended a while ago, the event capsules are still up, but I would recommend saving your RP for the next event instead, because you may get some prestige points out of it as well. And speaking of prestige points, in the last episode of Rift News, we talked about the new prestige system. A system that finally gave the prestige skins some prestige. If you don't remember, starting with the next event, Riot will release missions that are guaranteed to give you at least 25 prestige points per event. So every 4th event you will be able to gather enough points to get a prestige skin. However, I've made a mistake in that video, which led to a pretty severe internal crisis. Basically, the missions that will give you the prestige points will be included in the event pass, which means that you will need to buy the passes if you want the prestige points. Originally, I thought that these passes would be sold for event tokens, so that if you play a lot, you would be able to grind out enough points to buy the pass, and then grind out the missions to get the prestige points for free. But it seems that's not the case. Those passes might be sold exclusively for RP unless something changes. The good thing is that these event passes already have good value, so slapping quote-unquote free prestige points on top of that is a good thing. Anyway, back to live servers. Besides the capsules and your shop, you should keep in mind that the first split of 2019 is ending very soon. There should be a timer in your client, and by the time this video is released, you will have less than 5 days to do your placements and earn your rewards. As far as I know, it doesn't matter which queue you do. There shouldn't be a bonus for completing placements in all 3 queues. That might be a thing at the end of the season though. As a reminder, the rewards for this split are Split 1 ranked icon, upgraded borders on loading screens, and the Victorious Morgana ranked emote. So if you want any of these, you better start grinding before it's too late. The last thing we should mention is that the esports icons are also going away in less than 5 days now. So if you are interested in these, go ahead and watch some VODs before they disappear too. Now, while we covered all that's happening on PBE last time, we got some new updates on top of all of the things we already talked about. Prestige Edition KDA Evelynn got updated to look way better, and she got a splash art to match her new looks. Riot Stellari tweeted out a gif with the differences. But Evelynn is not the only one with new art. Conqueror Alistar also got his own splash art now. And Galaxy Slayer Z got his own login theme. Remember, the thing he is toying with is Aura, the main source of energy found in the Odyssey universe. This entire PBE patch, together with the Invictus gaming skins and all the golden chromas, is scheduled to release on the 17th of April. That doesn't mean that all the skins will be released on that day, but it means that you should expect the server to go down for a while. Now, let's move on to other interesting topics. First of all, the official Riot Games channel released a new video. In it, Tryndamere gave us a tour of his office. Now, while the tour is cool and what Tryndamere says is interesting, I like to look around and see if we can spot any possible Easter eggs. So let's do some blind guessing as to what's happening in the background. Near the beginning of the video, you can see what's probably the first prototype of the Tryndamere figure. I understand why he has it in his office. It's a one-of-a-kind collector's piece. But I wonder what's the Twisted Fate figure next to it. At first, I thought it was a miniature prototype of the original Twisted Fate statue. But the pose is totally different. This got me thinking. Could this be a figure from one of their scrapped board games? The ones that eventually evolved into Mechs vs Minions. But then we learned that Tryndamere is hugely into D&D. So this is likely one of his D&D figures. Later, they showed us the original concept art for the Howling Abyss. And interestingly enough, one of the first concept pieces to how it should look was this picture. Later, there was an obvious joke written on the whiteboard. We know Riot is working on something new. We just don't know what it is. But keep in mind that a new game was confirmed in a teaser video at the beginning of this season. Besides this, there is not much else in this video. I just like the fact that Riot is trying to show the faces of their company a bit more. I don't think anyone has Riot games associated with Rise or Tryndamere, even though the two of them are still the same guys who kickstarted the game we have right now. Next, let's talk about what happened to me this weekend. Many of you probably didn't notice that we released a Hecarim video. That is simply because I had to travel away, and while I was gone, I didn't notice that I left the video simply titled Hecarim. This means that the video got buried by the algorithms and a lot of people missed it, which means that I will earn exactly nothing from it. I was tempted to leave it named Hecarim, but it is still the other half of Kallista's story, so I want at least some people to see it. But overall, the reason why this happened was because I traveled to Germany to meet other streamers at TwitchCon. Well, I say meet other streamers, but in reality, I'm still a shy guy. So when I saw the titans in the Twitch industry, I just awkwardly shuffled past them. I did meet this guy though. Technically, he's still on top of the Know Your Lore ladder. Besides that, I was able to stream from the gaming truck, talk to people, get some awesome merch, and taste one of the gaming powder drinks for the first time in my life. They are okay. Overall, I had a lot of fun, and it left me motivated to stream more and to get involved in more conventions. Massive thanks goes to both Twitch Prime for giving me a chance to go, and to Riot for helping me figure it all out. It was an awesome experience, I just need to remember to name videos before I leave. But now, let's move on to Nexus. First of all, we got a post about Nexus Blitz. I said it before and I will say it again. I think that the competitive side of League will slowly drop, and custom game modes will become the future of League of Legends. That's why Nexus Blitz was so popular, and that's why All Random Earth attracted a lot of players. So what's happening to Nexus Blitz in the future? The second test run is behind us, and Riot got a lot of new statistics from it. Unfortunately, those statistics bring bad news for some of us. According to the numbers, Nexus Blitz is a game mode that people jump into, but they stop playing after a while, which means that it is not a good permanent game mode, and as a result, Riot will not make it permanent. And Nexus Blitz will occasionally return during events. For me, this is sad news, because I really enjoyed that game mode. And for casual play, I think it is simply better than Summoner's Rift. Whenever you are playing Nexus Blitz, people don't really care about victory as much as they normally do, which gives everyone broader freedom to just have fun. And I think League needs a game mode just like that. ARAM is close, but it is lacking the random madness of Nexus Blitz. Interestingly enough, according to the numbers, Nexus Blitz was the second most played alternative game mode of all times, the first one being Earth. And apparently the second test run of Nexus Blitz doubled the numbers of the first run. The two favorite events in Nexus Blitz were Prize Fight, which are the arena battles, and Earth Deathmatch, for quite obvious reasons. And the most popular reward for these events was the Battle Sled, for quite obvious reasons. This post then mentions an interesting piece of information. Since Nexus Blitz was tested during Snowdown, and it was tied to the Snowdown missions, once the Snowdown event ended, and there were no missions anymore, people went back to normal game modes. In my eyes, this is simply because of lack of rewards. You can simply lure people in by giving Nexus Blitz its own progression. Let's say that with every split you get a Nexus Blitz XP bar, and just by playing the game mode, you can get stuff like special recall and new kill animations, just like you did before. The post mentions that people came back to the game mode to work towards a goal, but the thing is, that goal was exclusive to that game mode. The only exception was a Poro that would follow you on ARAM. So people didn't really play Nexus Blitz to earn stuff for the other better game modes. They played Nexus Blitz simply because they had a goal there. So my question is, why don't you give people better goals? But that is just my view on this. Maybe the numbers do show different truth. Before we leave this post, however, let's go through a couple of interesting Nexus Blitz facts. While the Battle Sled was a favorite reward, it also had the lowest win rate, and it was the best tool to lose a lead. Nasus had one of the highest win rates, but he also had the highest count of D and C grades. That's because they always avoided fights to farm minions. Only about 1 in 5 games ended with sudden death. Maokai had the highest play rate improvement when compared to Summoner's Rift. Akali was in the top 20 most played champions, but she had the lowest win rate of all, which is only 41%. And lastly, Statstick of Stoicism had a 60% win rate, but that's because people who could afford it were already too far ahead. And now let's have a look at Ask Riot. Technically we didn't have a look at it last time, so let's cover all of the 7 questions we missed. Will chromas for blue essence ever come back? Also, will there ever be a way to get the green chromas outside of Riot partnerships? Easy answer by Don't Hassle the Hoff. Yes, there is a blue essence store twice a year, so the next one should be back in just a couple of months. Also, if you miss out on the green chromas, all of the chromas from the previous half a year will be included in the blue essence store as well. So right now, because the store is open only twice a year, all the green chromas released from January to June will be up at the end of the year, and all those that were released between July and December will be up during the mid-season. When making a new champion, how do you determine their difficulty or skill level, like Lux versus Azir? A quick answer by Riot Scruffy. First of all, it depends on the champion's theme. A duelist like Fiora will naturally require skill, while a fuzzy Yordle like Teemo is much simpler. This could be a hint that the next champion will be easier to play, by the way. Then Riot looks at the audience. They need to look at what people need. For example, Thresh was released because there was no high skill aggressive support before. And lastly, they look at other things that are being released at the same time. It is usually better to alternate between serious and comedy champions, as well as easy and hard to play. Is there a way to get prestige skins after they are no longer available, aside from using rerolls? This one is answered by Ken Adams NSA? They are not making it easy for me. All prestige skins can drop randomly from loot after they've been retired from an event or prestige points shop, just like other mythic skins. So even though the chances of them dropping are really low, you will still be able to get them. Will Riot add the login screen music to Spotify or other music platforms? Another quick answer by Iceberg. They don't really have a concrete plan, but Riot is working on providing easier access to their music. Why does Lissandra wear a helmet over her eyes? What is it for? Of course, this one is answered by Skethloke. For those of you who have not seen any of our Freljord videos, and especially the one about Lissandra, she was blinded by a primal demigod, most likely Volibear, although it is interesting that Skethloke avoided naming him. Either way, the helm Lissandra has doesn't have any specific purpose. Because she is the spiritual leader of the Frost Guard, it has more of a ceremonial meaning. How do you decide if a champion should deal magical or physical damage? This one is answered by Riot August. It seems like this one is mainly decided by the champion's theme, unless they are looking at other specific reasons. Mages usually deal magical damage, and fighters deal physical damage. They can't break that rule because it would be confusing for new players. If they see any casting spells, they would obviously look for magic resistance. That is, if a new player even buys magic resistance. But one thing Riot needs to consider is itemization. If a champion deals purely magical damage, they greatly benefit from penetration items, but at the same time, they can easily get countered by early magic resistance items. That's why even champions like Yasuo get at least some magic damage in their tools. And the last question, I am delighted by the lore of many of my favorite champions, among which is Ahri. Her history is deep and sad, but will we ever get to hear more about Ahri's deceased boyfriend? And in the future, will there be more stories involving Wukong? Again, this one is answered by Skethloke. Here we got some teasers as to what might happen in the future. Basically, anything that is even mentioned in a story may be turned into something bigger later on. Riot is just keeping windows open, so we may learn about Ahri's boyfriend in the future, if there is a good opportunity. When it comes to Wukong, there will certainly be more stories. We just had a story about Master Yi after all. But interestingly enough, he also mentioned that we might get a story about both Ahri and Wukong. But since their stories are totally different, I can't imagine how these two would meet. But that is it for this episode of Rift News. Since I am recording this in the past, I don't know if Riot released some new stories before I started editing this. So now I need to record a generic reaction, and depending if Riot released anything new or not, I need to edit it to fit whatever is happening. So, Wow, that was a good one! Hey, did you know that we have social media and Twitch where we talk about other league facts and stories? And did you know that we have need mugs and shirts too? The links to all of that will be below. And as always, thank you, come again.